Hey, let me step in here for a minute while she's trying to get this situated. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Tonight's program, you're going to have an absolutely awesome program you're going to be checking out tonight. Just a couple things here while she's working on the technical portion of this. If you have a mic, please mute your mic so that it doesn't interrupt the performers. If you have a speaker view of the program, switch your thing to speaker view so that you can see the speaker who's speaking at that time. Also, when the program is over with, do not leave. We have an awesome afterglow program so we can meet the speakers and we can meet you at the same time. Let me begin by thanking everybody for showing tonight. Uh, and we're having just a few problems here, which we weren't having a few minutes ago. Hopefully, my technical person can get it straight in the next couple of seconds here. In the meantime, we have a host tonight that is just absolutely amazing. I've known her for a very long time. Her name is Barbara Clark. She is a storyteller, began telling stories before she even knew it as a school librarian. She's a Southern girl born and bred in Memphis who landed in Michigan and is now back south again in Olive Branch, Mississippi, which is a suburb of Memphis, Tennessee, but can still considers Michigan home also. Barbara has served on the Newberry and Caldecott and Coretta Scott King Award chair for Coretta Scott King Award Committee of the American Library Association. She loves telling stories, African American holiday folk tales, story problems, and poetry, to name a few. Without further ado, let me introduce Barbara Clark. Barbara?
You're muted. You're muted, Barbara.
I'm sorry. So sorry. I was trying to be sure I was muted while you guys were coming on. Good evening and good evening, America. I understand that we have people from all over. We have four fabulous tellers, and I'd like to just get started right away. Our first teller is Lea Rich. She is a woman after my own heart, a retired teacher from DPS. Tone, is our tech working now?
Yes, it is. Go ahead. You're doing fine. Go ahead.
Okay, a retired teacher from DPS. She first got interested in telling stories while working on her teaching certificate. And she was inspired by a college professor who was a master at spinning a tale. She saw storytelling as an asset to enhance her teaching and started attending story festivals and decided this was something she wanted to pursue, and so she has. Leah's story tonight is based on an experience her mother had as a young adult. It speaks to the necessity of being alert, exercising caution, and changing directions when something does not seem right. Leah, welcome to the Dabs Friday night fireside story stage. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Ms. Clark. Take heed and obey. Have you ever received a visitation from a ministering spirit? Some people refer to them as guardian angels. They come to guide your steps, to protect you, and to urge you to take heed and obey to keep you from impending danger. They may speak to you audibly, in visions, or in dreams. Many years ago, my mother Anna received a visitation from a ministering spirit, and she always reveled in the fact that it kept her from making one of the most dangerous decisions of her life. Approximately 7 decades ago, my mother was blossoming into a young, independent woman in St. Louis, Missouri. Like so many young colored women, that's what they called us back in the day, colored. She worked in a greasy spoon diner. It was called a greasy spoon because it served greasy but delectable foods that satisfied the palate. In fact, if you were in the vicinity, your olfactory sense would be inundated with the smell of crispy fried chicken, grilled or baked pork chops, Salisbury steaks smothered in thick brown gravy, savory collard greens seasoned with ham hocks, candied yams with just the right amount of glaze, cornbread, and many other delicious foods that appease the appetite. In this greasy spoon diner, my mother's responsibilities included setting the tables, clearing the dirty dishes from the tables, keeping the coffee cups full, and assisting the cooking staff. Oftentimes, a particular gentleman would come in for dinner, and no matter which section my mother was assigned to work, he would always sit in her section. He entered by giving her a slight nod of the head, but he never engaged her in conversation. He never even introduced himself. He just gave the waitress his order, read his newspaper, consumed his meal, paid his bill, and off he went. When my mother's shift was over, she would do the things that people generally did in those days to entertain themselves. She'd take her dog Smoots for a walk around the neighborhood. She'd visit with family and friends. And then she would go inside and listen to the Lone Ranger Story Hour on the radio. Few people in those days had televisions. After dusk turned into nighttime, it was time for her to go to sleep. So she would settle in her cozy, comfortable bed and fall fast asleep. Little did she know that this particular night, she would receive an unforgettable visitation from a ministering spirit. She slept soundly, and all of a sudden, she woke up with a start. She was trembling. She was breathing heavily. She was sweating profusely. She sat straight up in her bed. She was troubled, troubled, troubled. She could clearly see the face of the man who always came into the diner and sat in her section, but never said a word. This time, it was different. He came in and he greeted her with a nice warm smile. He asked her name as he introduced himself, and he engaged her in small talk. Then he asked her out for a date. She was mesmerized by his smile, and she pondered his request for a few minutes, and then she answered yes. In an instant, he turned into the ugliest monster she had ever seen in her life. Boils covered every inch of his face. Slimy pus oozed from his open sores. His eyes turned blood red. Yellow snot dripped from his nostrils. Grayish bile oozed from the corner of his mouth. His face was marred by a crooked grin, and there was a putrid smell that permeated the air, and she could feel the presence of evil. She was terrified and as her heart pounded within her, but she was relieved when she realized it was only a dream. After taking a few deep breaths, she lay back down to try to go back to sleep. But all she could do was toss and turn. As nighttime turned into daylight, she arose, but she was still disturbed about that dream. Despite feeling uneasy and apprehensive, she went to the restroom to wash her face. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. There were dark circles underneath her eyes. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her eyelids were heavy. She felt lethargic, and she was still shaking. She thought back to a song that she learned in elementary school, and she would sing that song anytime she became nervous. It calmed her. So she decided to look at herself in the mirror and sing that song. Now, she sang, "Good morning to you. Good morning to you. We're all in our places with sunshiny faces. For this is the way to start a new day." Now, she felt better. She proceeded to wash up, brush her teeth, put on her clean, crisp uniform, comb her hair, and she caught the streetcar to work. When she got to Washington Avenue, she got off and she walked 3 blocks east to the diner. She reported for her afternoon shift and she began setting the tables, clearing the tables, keeping the coffee flowing. As late afternoon progressed into early evening, who do you think walked into the diner? You got it. The same man that always came to the diner and sat in my mother's section, but never said a word. The same man that she had dreamt about the night before. He walked in slowly. And where do you think he sat? Yes, in my mother's section. But this time, he surprised her. He smiled at her as he introduced himself and asked her name. He engaged her in small talk. Then he asked her out for a date. My mother was flabbergasted. She didn't know what to think. She thought back to her dream and how it made her feel. Then she looked at him directly in the eyes and she gave him an emphatic no. He gave her a puzzled look. He proceeded to eat his meal in silence. He paid his bill and he left without saying a word. My mother never saw that mysterious man again. Now we can only speculate what might have happened had my mother not taken heed and obeyed the warning she received in a dream. She could have become like many women who disappeared without a trace, never to be heard from or seen by family or friends again. Or perhaps she could have become enslaved in what we now know as human trafficking and all that that entails. Or maybe she would have been victimized by spousal abuse. But because my mother took heed and obeyed the warning, we do know what happened. Approximately 2 years later, my mother relocated to Detroit, Michigan. She met and married Lea Rich. Subsequently, 3 children were born to that union: Anita, Eric, and me, the baby. Because my mother took heed and obeyed that warning, she was able to watch her 3 children grow up into adulthood and to do things that she never got the chance to do. She beamed with pride as her children joined the military, graduated from college, and traveled to places she only dreamed about. Yes, indeed, my mother made the right decision and avoided unknown tragedy. But I surmise that the greatest tragedy she avoided by taking heed and obeying that warning is that had she not done so, I would have never been born. Thank you, Mom. Thank you very much, Mom, for obeying the warning that you received in a dream.
Put our hands together for Lea. Thank you, Lea.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Lea. We're so pleased to have a family story of integrity and strength and perseverance. Our second storyteller is Ethel Revels. Ethel has had a very interesting career, what she describes as serious and solemn, and I find to be quite interesting. Social worker, litigation attorney, and finally retiring as a federal administrative law judge. She admits that as an adult, she's not really had a standing audience to practice her storytelling, but she's been a storyteller since as long as she can remember, whether battling with her out of town cousins to tell stories of which city was the most exciting, or palling in bed with her mom to read, listen, and make up stories to tell each other with her grandma. In addition, Ethel is researching and documenting family histories, helping to clear titles on her heirs' property, and using her skills wherever she can to help others. Her story today is going to help us put embarrassment behind us and perhaps help us get over some embarrassing situations. Ethel, the stage is all yours.
Don't you just hate it when something so embarrassing happens that the only way that you think you can get over it is by joining the Foreign Legion and coming back a hero? At least that's how it always worked out in those old British novels. But your mom says, don't worry about it, baby. You'll look back on this and laugh. For mom, the magic tonic for anything embarrassing, ego shattering, or I would like to sink through the floor was humor that you would learn to appreciate later in life. As a child, I thought mom knew best. I had faith in her words. I started telling myself that whenever I did anything that was embarrassing, eggs on my face, wish I could just disappear. I just plain old made a fool of myself. After a recent such incident, I asked myself if mom was right. Do I have any experiences in my life that I'm looking back on and laughing that were embarrassing before? I don't think so, Mom. Certainly not that Christmas when I was 8 or 9 years old and we went to visit Mom's friend, Ms. Pat. Ms. Pat lived on the other side of town and we didn't have a car. So Mom and I had to walk. Now, in my hometown, back then, the streets in my little small town of Thomasville, Georgia, if you lived in the Black neighborhood, they were all dirt roads, wide roads with deep ditches. So as you had to walk down those streets, that Georgia clay just blew on everything. Every so many miles, I would lean over and wipe the clay off of my new patent leather shoes. I didn't mind the walk because I had a crush on Miss Pat's son, Ron. So I was always eager to go with Mom when she was visiting her friend, Miss Pat. Now, I would never say anything to Ron directly, but I had this dream that one day he would notice me and say, "Oh, I've always had a crush on you too." Well, when we reached Miss Pat's house, all the kids were outside playing with their new Christmas toys, skates all over. Well, I didn't know how to skate. I never had any skates in my life. But Ron's sister, who was about my age, let me practice on hers. And I was doing good there for a while. I sort of had this thing under control. And then suddenly, Ron and a group of his friends swerved around the corner of a building and plop, I went down so unromantically at his feet. And of course, they just laughed, Ron harder than the others, I thought. And I just ran crying to my mom with my hurt, my pride more than my backside. On the way home, because Mom knew about my crush on Ron, she said to me, "Baby, don't worry about that. You'll look back on this and laugh." I don't know, Mom. I remember something even more recent. Yes, the first day of hearings of when I was as a judge in the state tax court. I walked out of my chambers with my new judge's strut, and I sat down in the chair behind the bench, and I just kept going and going and going until I was down under the bench. Now, that was the first day of being a judge in the Michigan State Tax Court. When I got up, got myself together, and slid back up, eased myself back up in my chair, the clerk looked over and said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you that that chair is broken." Really? Well, that's not all. That's not all that's happened in my life that I've been embarrassed about. But the one thing that I'll never forget is my first date. Maurice had invited me out for a movie and dancing at the teenage club afterwards. Well, that was during the time when everybody you always ask your parents before accepting a date. Well, I had never been out on a date with the guy, just me and him. But Maurice didn't know that. But he was one of those nice looking, popular guys at school. And my family had met him. So he was smart and polite to boot. So I figured he would be the perfect person for me to go out with on my first date, to get my family to say it was okay. And it worked. My parents actually said that I could go out on a date. My sister offered to help me to learn how to dance, teach me how to dance that week. Of course, that was in exchange for my washing the dishes in her place all week. I hated washing the dishes. Then Friday night got here. I think everybody was a little bit excited to that this was my first date. And my sister even put makeup on my face. And Mom didn't say that I was too young for makeup. Dad even said, "You look nice, baby." Of course, that was after he said, "And don't let that little boy be trying anything funny." And I knew he did not mean telling jokes. Well, I thought I looked sort of nice too. I sat there, my new outfit all prissy, my hair in place, and my sister really knew how to do makeup. 7 o'clock came. My parents had said that Maurice could pick me up at 7, get me back home by 11 before the 11 o'clock, in time for the 11 o'clock news. No doorbell at 7 o'clock. 7:30, the doorbell still didn't ring. At 8 o'clock, the telephone rang. My sister said, "It's for you." I answered the telephone. "Hello. Hi, just checking to make sure we're still on for tomorrow night." My sister never let me get over. She just laughed, and teased me for getting the day of my first date mixed up. And Mom said, "Don't let them bother you, baby. You'll look back at this and laugh." I don't know, Mom. I still don't know how to skate. The only thing good about that Christmas was I learned that I really didn't care that much for Ron anyway. And as for dates, I make sure that I double check my calendar to see that I've written everything down right. When I encounter embarrassment now, I don't say, "I'll look back on this and laugh." I reach for the chocolate. And as for when I went to the federal bench, I made sure that they purchased me a new chair to sit in behind the bench. As far as that situation today, well, pass the chocolate bar, please.
Thank you, Ethel. We've all been there. Chocolate makes everything better. Our third storyteller is Michelle Jarrah Mckinney. Michelle is multi-talented. Singer, lyricist, actor, storyteller, percussionist, and educational programs producer. She's presently the executive director of the Detroit Sound Conservancy. It's a community archives. And she's working at the Wright Museum And for those of you who are not from Detroit, that's the African American Museum in Detroit, one of the finest in the nation. She's the archivist librarian there. She's a featured singer with McKinney folk that's led by her daughter, drummer and composer, Gaylyn McKinney. The ensemble is regularly featured in the Detroit International Jazz Festival. Now, a special project that she is working on now is a sacred music choral collection composed by her late husband, Harold McKinney. You'd better keep your eyes peeled for that future publication. And tonight, Michelle is sharing A Grain of Corn. It's a story that teaches us to have faith in our abilities and to use our God-given talents. Don't despair, even if things look bad, because everything happens for good. Michelle, the stage is all yours.
All right. Kweku Ananse, messenger of Jah. Kweku Ananse, messenger of Jah. Oh, Kweku Ananse, messenger of Jah. He had the truth and he had wisdom. Did Kweku Ananse, Kweku Ananse. At the beginning of creation, the great, great God, Anyame, had created a beautiful world. And as time went by, the people that he created, they became villages, and they became hamlets, and they became towns, and they became cities. But Anyame realized that some of the people had forgotten all about him. And they had forgotten about each other, about how to live together. And there was one particular city that was really bad. So he decided that he would send a messenger and have them come back into the community. So he sent out word and asked for a messenger to come and be a messenger to these people. But no one wanted to come. Everyone felt that they weren't worthy to carry the word of Anyame. Everybody except one person. And isn't that how it is? Sometimes our destiny comes. And we're the only ones that can fulfill it. So out comes the Spider-Man, Anansi. And he sat there and talked to his wife, Aso, and said, wife, I think I'm gonna take up Anyame on his quest. I think I'll become the messenger of Anyame. I think I could do it. His wife said, and suppose you fail. Suppose something happens and you're not able to be a good messenger. I mean, nobody else is trying for the job, so you must know it's got some difficulty to it. Well, that may be so, but Anyame gave me all my smarts. I think I'm gonna go and try for it. So he goes up into the court the heavenly court and says, Anyame, here is your messenger. And Anyame said, oh, well, took you a bit long, but I was expecting you. Bring me the corn. So this is what I want you to use to bring that whole community, every living man, woman, and child has to come here into my court. And you have to do it using this. And he gave this small little box to Anansi. So Anansi takes the box, looks in and says, oh, here's a piece of corn. All right, I'll do it. So off he went. Anansi, messenger of Jah. So he went and started to walk. Till he came to a little hamlet. And in that hamlet, there were little children just playing around. You know how kids run and chase each other, just gamboling, having a great old time. So he said to the children, hey, where's your daddy? They said, oh, he's just come back from the fields. Come on, we'll take you to his house. So they took him to the house, and the father comes out, wiping sweat and dirt off him from the field. Oh, hello there. How you doing, stranger? Well, I am Anansi, the messenger of God, and I have come to rest in your hamlet for the evening. And I have with me the grain of corn. This is a special corn. It's not like corn in your fields. This corn has a special magic and a blessing on it. So I want you to put this piece of corn with the chickens, and I'm gonna go to bed. You want me to put the corn with the chickens? Well, that's where this sacred corn got to rest. Okay, if you say so. So Anansi went and had himself a little bath, and the wife, she prepared some nice rice dish for him, and he went and snuggled in his bed. And the father went and did just what he said. He put the corn with the chickens. So what do you think happened to the corn? Yeah, right. So the next morning, everybody gets up. Anansi comes up. Okay, I'm ready to continue my journey. Where's my grain of corn? I don't see it, sir. What? I don't see your corn. I think the chickens ate it. Oh my goodness. You let the chickens eat the grain of corn from Anyame? Oh, well, I think I know what happened. You see that big fat chicken right there? I think that hen is the one that took it. Well, since she has a grain of corn inside of her, I've got to take her. Oh, please, here. Here, take her, please. So he took that hen under his arm and started walking down the road just a singing. I'm Pukwa Tale, messenger of God. Pukwa Tale, messenger of God. Pukwa Tale, messenger of God. I know the truth. I have faith and wisdom. Pukwa Tale. And he finally came now to a little village. And once again, the children were playing all around. And he said, hey, kids, take me to your chief. Oh, we'll take you to our grandfather. Come on. So he went and introduced himself to the grandfather. I am Kwaku Anansi. I am the messenger of God. And I have chosen to rest here on my journey to the forgotten city. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. Come, let us feast you. So they made him a little feast, and he ate, and he had a nice bath, and they showed him a nice bed. He says, but wait. Before I rest, you got to take this here chicken and put her in with the goats. She got to stay with the goats tonight. Messenger, something might happen bad to your hen with those, you know how goats are. They kick, they bite, they eat anything. Goats might not, I say it, this sacred hen got to stay with the goats. She can't stay with hens. She's special. Oh, okay, certainly. So he went to bed, and they put that poor little hen in with the goats. Well, come the sun rising up, it's time to go. And Quaker said, okay, come on, somebody bring me my hen. They said, oh, messenger, we are sorry to report. I think your hen has been trampled by the goats. There's nothing we could do. You told us to do it. Look at that goat right there. It's got feathers all in its feet. That big, fat, fine goat right there. Yeah, I'll take that goat since it hurt the hen. Thank you. Be blessed. So he took the goat and went walking down the road. Kweku Anansi, messenger of Jah. Kweku Anansi, messenger of Jah. Kweku Anansi, messenger of God. Oh, he had faith and he had wisdom. Kweku Anansi. And he came now to a big, bustling town. And once again, he saw the children out playing. He says, hey, where's the head person? You want to see the king? We'll take you to him. So they took him to the court of the king. And the king was sitting there with his wife and his advisors and his council. Hello there, who are you? I am Kweku Anansi, I am the messenger of God. And I have here his sacred goat. Now I'm tired and I got a long way to go. So I want this goat to be here in there with the bull. You know, the bull over there, the bull and the cows. Yeah. Sir, do you realize that your poor goat might get hurt? Don't talk to me about that. This is a sacred goat. He can't stay with the other goats. He got to go with the cattle. Oh, yes, sir. And so there he went on and had his nice bath and went to bed. And they put the poor little goat with all them restless cattle. Up the next morning, he gets up. Time to go. Bring me my goat. Oh, sir. The goat is dead. Oh, I see that big fine fella right there. Look, he got goat hair on his hooves. Give me that guy. Yes, sir. Here, take him, please. Okay, it's all right. I got the cow now. Come on, bull. So he started leading the bull down the road. And as he went, he started hearing something. And it was real faint and got closer and closer and closer. It was weeping and wailing. And he saw a caravan of people. And they were carrying a poor little coffin. A child had died, and they were off to the burying ground. He said, what has happened? Oh, my son, he suddenly fell ill, and there was nothing we could do. Oh, and he was just a child. He's only like 5 years old. Oh, don't worry. Let me take your child. You see, I am Kweku Anansi. I am the messenger of God. I will take your child to Inyame, and everything will be all right. Are you sure? Sure. Here, take this cow, and you all have a feast. You sacrifice that cow, and you all have a feast of joy and gratitude, and give praise to Anyame. So you will hear from me soon. So he took the baby And he had them wrap the baby up very well. And he put the baby on his back, just like a mama would. And he went on his journey. So he crossed the long, winding river. And there he was, in the land of the forgotten city. So he went to the city gates and announced himself. And they said, "You're who? I need to speak to your king." "Well, we don't know who you are." "Well, you will know if you let me speak to the king." So they finally, after a lot of talk, because they didn't know who Anyame was, they took him in front of the king. And so he sat down and explained to the king who Anyame was and who all of the world was that we haven't heard from you in so long. And I'm here to remind you about Anyame. But meanwhile, here on my back, I've got the Son of God. This is the Son of God, and he's real tired from traveling. So I want you to put him in with your children. They said, "Oh, sure." So they let him back there, and he laid the baby down in one of the children's bed. So he went on and talked to the parents, and the kids came back from playing outside, and they see the stranger in one of their beds. They said, "Hey, you, get up." Child ain't say nothing. "Hey, kid, wait, play with us." Child ain't say nothing. "Didn't you hear me talking to you?" said the head boy. He said, "Come on, get up. Hit him. Yeah, wake up. Wake up. Wake up." And all the kids started trying to make him wake up, and they just hit him and pushed him and rocked him, but he didn't wake up. And they said, ooh, and he stinks. Something wrong with him. So they talked about the poor child, and after a while, they all pushed his bed way over in the corner, and they all slept in their beds. Next morning, Kwaku gets up. "All right, I got to go on back home. So somebody bring me the child of God." So the mother and father went and says, "All right, a child of God, Son of God, get up now." Child ain't say nothing. Child? Honey, I think this child is no longer living. Oh, what are we going to tell the messenger? Oh, what shall we do? Oh, I guess we better call him. Messenger, come quickly. What is it? Wake up my son. Come on, God's son. He's got to go. What's wrong with God's son? What did you do? We just put him in the bed. What are all those marks on him? Your children. Did you all hit the child of God? Yes. Oh, they have killed the Son of God. Oh my God, the people were all messed up. He says, "Oh, you know what this means? This means you must throw yourself on Anyame's mercy. Every single man, woman, and child must come before him and prostrate themselves and ask for his forgiveness, because this was his son." What we are doing? Wait, tell them the vizier. We gotta get all the people together. So all the people, every single person who lived in that town, in that big town, they all gathered their belongings for a long walk. And every single baby, child, teenager, married couple, mother, father, cousin, uncle, grandfather, grandmother, they all queued up and they start walking. They walked for many, many days. They walked and they passed all the places that Kwaku had been. And they finally came to the court of Anyame. And Anyame threw open the gates. And he said, "Come in." And he looked and saw that every single man, woman, and child in that town was there. And they all prostrated themselves. And Anyame said, "Well, Anansi, you did it." Well, Thanks to you, you gave me that grain of corn. But thanks to you, you used your mind to accomplish your task. And for that, I will give you a wish. This is your reward. You can say anything you want and I will grant it. Oh, well. Oh, I made a promise. I promised those parents that you would help their son. And he took the baby off his back and he laid that baby in the arms of Anyame. Anyame took that child, that great, great God Anyame, and he looked down at that little spirit and he said, and he breathed upon that child. And to everyone's amazement, the child began to breathe with Anyame. And the child was restored to health. And the angels of Anyame took the child back to its parents. And Anyame said, well, that was good of you, but I still will grant a wish for you. What do you desire? Oh, I know. I want all the stories in the world. We get tired of waiting for you to come down there and be telling us stories. I want the stories to tell when I feel like telling them, when I need to hear them, and when the people need to hear them. So I want you to give me all the stories in the world. And Anyame looked at him with a smile in his eyes and he said, all right, I will give you the stories of the world. And from this moment forth, stories shall be known as Ananse-sen. They belong to you. And at that moment, the mind of Ananse was stuffed full. He saw movies in his head. He knew every story in the world. And that's why, children, in Ghana, where Ananse was born, when you talk about let's tell a story or let's hear a story, the word for stories is Ananse-sen. And I put this story back where I found it.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I've heard a lot of Ananse stories, but I have never heard that one. Thank you for the music and for the drums and for Ananse. Now, as the final storyteller, I'd like to begin my story. Okay. The story I'd like to share with you tonight is a Pukwa Tale, an African-American version of the Adam and Eve story that we're all very familiar with. And it addresses that kind of tug and pull that married couples often have. And it tells you just where that got started, that it happened long before any of us were born. Now, long time ago, when water was wetter and fire was hotter and kisses were sure enough sweeter than they are today, God created Adam and Eve and made them one fine house. That house had great big rooms with beautiful mahogany doors, the most gorgeous hardwood floors. It had a kitchen to die for. And just to give the house a touch more of splendor, God wrapped that veranda from side to side all the way around the front of the house. And then he built Adam and Eve some rocking chairs to let them enjoy the cool of the evening. And just to the right of that house, he planted them the most mouth-watering garden you've ever seen. It had tomatoes and red and green peppers, turnip greens and mustard greens and onions and squash and cantaloupe and honeydew melons. And when God was finished, he walked through that house to be sure that everything was perfect for him. And then he called them over. Adam, Eve, come on over here. There it is. It's all yours. Get your stuff and move in, and you can just enjoy. And that's what they did. They loved that house. They were full of love, Adam and Eve was. Have you ever seen a couple that looked like they were just made for one another? Well, that was Adam and Eve. Why, they even favored one another. And if you didn't know any better, you might think that one was made from the rib of the other. Why, they even spoke in the same number of words. And sometimes Eve could start a sentence and Adam would finish it. Now, Adam was taller than Eve, but they had the same build, about the same weight. And every night, that couple hit the frog hairs and they had a whopping good time. And if they hadn't been a little more careful, they might have had a lot of little Adams running around there. Everything was wonderful for them until they got to disagreeing about things. Like the time they got into this big argument over the new stove and the curtains. Adam, you put together the stove while I hang the curtains. How come I got to do all that heavy lifting? You just as strong as I am. Why don't you put together the stove and I'll hang the curtains? Well, honey, there's woman's work and there's men's work. You get the stove and I'll hang the curtains. Women simply don't do any heavy lifting. Well, I don't see why they don't. Now, it started off just as a little tit for tat. You know how it goes, ladies. Then it developed into some yelling. And before you know it, they was tussling. And then it got down to a right down wildcat fight. I tell you, Adam couldn't best her. Eve was as strong as Adam. And she couldn't best him. It was just an even Steven standoff. Why, they were so tired and so mad by the time they went to bed. It wasn't any frog hair time that night. Adam was really disturbed over it. Why, the next day he got to thinking, I can't have no woman that I can't best. I got to talk to God about this. He decided to walk right up the stairway to heaven to visit with God. And when he got up there, the Lord God Almighty was sitting there in heaven in all its splendor. It was something to see. Adam says, God, I come to you because you're the Most High. And I need some help. Adam, something wrong with the house? Oh, no, Lord. The house is prime. It couldn't be better. Well, then what is it? To tell you the truth, Lord, it's that woman you gave me. You gave us equal strength. Why, I can't best her ever. Not ever in any kind of way. Watch yourself now, Adam. Careful now. You aren't criticizing the work of the Lord God Almighty, are you? Oh no, I would never criticize the Lord. Well, I gave you equal strength because that was the fair way. I wanted the two of you to pull the harness together, even. Well, Lord, we even and equal in strength, all right. But she done found another way to fight. She gets to crying and bawling, makes me feel like a low-down scamp. In fact, truth be told, I can't stand to see her crying like that. So I just give in. And then she gets away, Lord. It's not fair. You got to give me more strength than her. Lord, if you make me stronger and harder, I'll keep everything down there on earth. I'll keep it in place, including my woman. Well, I like a man that knows what he wants and comes and asks for it. So be it. And before Adam knew anything, he was getting stronger. In fact, he was stronger. And he took all that strength, ran down that stairway, right to his house to tell Eve all about it. Eve, I've been up to talk to God. He gave me some more strength. I got more strength than you will ever get. Mm-hmm. Why, Eve just looked him over from head to toe. Her man sure did look good. He had muscles she'd never seen. Oh, those biceps and triceps stirred up a little something in it. And that little gut he was getting from all that good cooking Eve had been doing, why, he had abs flat as a board. I tell you, she didn't like the news about the strength. But that night, she cooked Adam a fine, fine supper. And when they hit the frog hairs, they had a mighty whopping good time. Now, Eve waited a full day to let this whole strength thing settle on her before she went up to talk to God. And then she walked on up the stairways. Dear God, I come up here to see you, to see if you could give me my strength I once had. Now the Lord God Almighty just looked at Eve. Well, you got the strength that you once had, Eve. It just happens that Adam has more strength than you now. But why is that, Lord? Well, he asked me for it and I gave it to him. Well, can you give me some more strength? Or can you take part of his strength away from him so we'll be even again? Well, no. I don't take back that which I give. You're just going to have to live with Adam being the strongest. Now, Eve knew better than try to argue with the Lord God Almighty. So she went on home, and she was mad as firecrackers with God. Fighting mad. And ladies, that's a bad place to be mad at God. Because as soon as she got that mad, up popped the devil. Eve, girl, what's the matter? Eve told him all about it. Now, Eve, let me tell you how to be as good as Adam. You go right back upstairs. Ask the Lord God Almighty for the keys hanging by the left pearly gate. Really? Mm-hmm. When you get them, you bring them down here to me, and I'll tell you what to do with them. Up the stairway she went. Oh, my dear God. What is it you want now, E? Oh, God, you're the head of all the heaven and the earth and the stars. Yes, 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 yes. What is it that you want? Lord, would you do me a little favor? Can I have those keys by the left pearly gate? Then, why, they've been there for 10 million years. I don't have any need for them. You can have them if you want them. Thank you, Lord, thank you. She ran back down those stairs as quick as she could, and right at the bottom, the devil was waiting for her. Eve, girl, those keys you have, those are power keys. Now, let me tell you what you got to do. When you get home, you got to lock the door to the kitchen. Then you have to lock the door to the bedroom. Why would I be locking all the doors in my house? The doors are always open. Lock number 1, E. Man is always thinking about food. He's always thinking about his stomach. Adam can't get his mind off food. Don't you know that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach? Lock the kitchen. Lock number 2. Man needs his sleep to do his work. And then at night, he wants his woman close to him in the frog house. He needs his bedroom. Lock the bedroom. Eve ran home as quick as she could and locked those rooms up. And when Adam had finished his chores for the day, she was sitting on the porch, rocking and smiling. Adam looked at the house and saw that the doors were locked, and he didn't think anything of it. He had an answer for that. So he got his strength up and he went rushing to bump the door open. Door wouldn't move. Who locked up things down here? Oh, I did, Adam. Where'd you get some keys to lock everything up? Oh, God gave them over to me. Adam rushed up the stairway to talk to God to tell him what Eve had told him. God listened to him. He said, well, yes. She asked and I gave. That fallen angel of mine showed her what to do with it. Oh, Lord, you got to give me some keys so I can open things up down there. You can't let her have this over me like that. Now, Adam, I can't do that. What I give, I don't take back. You know that. Now, you're just going to have to go on home and ask Eve for the keys to open those doors if you have to have them open. And that's what Adam did. He went on home and he tried to negotiate. He asked her for the keys, but he those keys at the beginning of time. Now, our men folk like to think that they are the boss. They are the head of the house, ladies. They got more strength than we'll ever have. But women folk know who the real boss is because we have the power. It's been like that since a long, long, long time ago. So they say. That ends our program for tonight. We want to thank all of you for listening. We hope you'll stay on. Tone, I'm going to give it back to you, and you can start our Q&A or our discussion. Tone, can you hear me? It's all yours.
Yep. Thank you so much. I had to wait for my studio to send it back to me.
I've got you.
First of all, let me apologize for our beginning. Of course, there's a thing called Zoom crashers that comes on, and we had that problem. We're going to work on that so that you know that it won't happen again. Next month, it'll be something totally different. Let me get into this real quick here. Thank you for attending tonight's program. The Association of Black Storytellers Fourth Friday Story Hour. A new year and a new season was absolutely awesome thing. Please stay tuned afterwards as we have a afterglow with a mingle so that the storytellers and all our guests can meet. You'll be unmuted at that point so you all can talk at that time. If you missed any of tonight's performance, you can tune into Dad's podcast for a replay of the broadcast, or you can tune in to YouTube. It'll be posted on there in a few weeks. We have to go back and we will re-record the first story, which is Lea Rich, and we'll put it into recording so that you all can see it in its entirety. All rights of the Dad's Fourth Story Hour is the copyright of the Detroit Association of Black Storytellers and cannot be rebroadcast or re-recorded without the written permission and written consent of Detroit Storytellers, Black Storytellers Incorporated. If you live in the Detroit area and have an interest in becoming a storyteller, please contact Dabs at DetroitStorytellers@gmail.com or give us a call at 313-442-3227. That is DetroitStorytellers.com@gmail.com or call us at 313-442-3227. If you happen to live outside Detroit area and is interested in becoming a storyteller, please visit the National Association of Black Storytellers website, or you can call them at 410-947-1117, or you can go to their email questions at nabsinc.org. NABS will connect you with the Storyteller Association in a city near you. Please join us next month for the Dad's Fourth Friday Story Hour, Friday, February 26th. Doors open at 6:55. The concert starts at 7 o'clock. This will be our Black History program. We have incorporated and asked our elders to come back and step in and give us some history of a personal story of theirs as they were growing up or living life in Black history and set some Black history amongst their family. Our storytellers are Vicky Slaughter, Jenny Critton, Genevieve Bellamy, Alma Greer, and is hosted by our founder, Amy Jackson.
Oh, wow, Amy.
We would like to thank you once again for joining tonight, our Fourth Friday Dab Story Hour. On behalf of our storytellers tonight, Lea Rich, Ethel Revels, Michelle Mckinney, hosted by Barbara Clark. Our music was performed by Michelle Mckinney, who is our theme music for today, and is now our theme music for our Fourth Friday Story Hour. Please give her a hand for that. We thank you for attending the Story Hour. We'll see everyone in February 26th. Please be safe. By all means, wear a mask. Until next time, we'll see you then. Stay tuned for a quick break, and after that, we'll have our Dabs Glow Mix and Mingle.